Hello, this is Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kring. I wanted to share with you, it is now December 14th, 2023. I'm wearing my new sparkly dress that I got with my black cotton bodysuit underneath. I have cotton bodysuits in black, white, and kind of a beige taupe color. And I use these to help me be theatrical and dressed for various events that I'm going to. This is going to be Goddess Kring video. I'm thinking of starting to do a video almost every day. This is the daily Kring. I could say it's the daily Kring. It's the daily Goddess Kring. How are you today? Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am working on a full-length documentary Goddess Kring film. For those of you who don't know, I did a public access show in Seattle called Goddess Kring for 15 years every week. And if you multiply 15 years times 52 weeks out of the year, you come up with 780. So I have at least 780 Goddess Kring videos. I did a few reruns, but I mostly just did new shows every week. And I just did the show and just put them in a box and they just stacked up. And so now that I'm working on my art car and maybe going to go to Houston and go to the art car parade and festival in Houston, Texas in April 2024. I am continuously painting shoes and doing photo projects and video projects and art modeling and medical modeling, which means I'm acting for medical students. I'm digging through the archives. Thank you to my friend Nibby Nebulous in Tacoma, who is digitizing a whole bunch of VHSs of mine, because I find it a little psychologically difficult to look through some of my old videos, my Goddess Kring videos. I really went through a lot of turmoil and self-hatred, although I also have a lot of self-love and I got a lot of fan mail. I got a lot of hate mail. I think I took that a little bit for granted. I'm just watching documentary filmmakers discuss how to come up with a compelling documentary. There's no formula that's perfect, but generally there's sometimes 3 acts and there's a protagonist and a hero, and Goddess Kring would be the hero in my Goddess Kring movie. Just like Fantasy A Gets a Mattress is sort of a Seattle film right now that's a fiction film that's doing really well, and it does have this epic storytelling, beginning, middle, end. Fantasy A Gets a Mattress. Goddess Kring gets a self-esteem. No, no, I'm not sure what the Goddess Kring is going to get, but it's true that in a lot of filmmaking and movies, there's storytelling. I tend to be a very random, chaotic, nonlinear person. My stream of consciousness poetry, my stream of consciousness painting is catch the wind song, spiral, drive, crack the code, left and right node. I wander and I wander, tripping over grasshoppers, moon haulers, key robbers, enchanted lands, smoky hands, rough and cracked. Take this sand and stand alone, all one. I present the present, desert the desert, exercise, bring exorcism, cleanse, shaka shaka, shaka shaka, shaka shaka. So a lot of my visual art and my poetry and my music and my photography and my art model poses and the acting that I do for medical students, because they give me a script that I act out, like Aches and Pains and Family History, that's fiction, but then they tell me make the rest up. So if the medical student asks me something that is not on the script, I just can make anything up that would fit well for the scenario. And I'm really good at improvising in my personal life, in my creative life, my professional life. I just do whatever works. And so part of why I do what I do is I grew up with some people around me that were critical and perfectionistic, and a lot of really creative, smart, sensitive people are a little bit hard on themselves and a little bit critical. And it can be good to be self-aware and discerning, But if you're so self-conscious and so self-aware that it stops you from doing your art, it's like you have to get out of your own way. And so part of what drove me to be Goddess Kring on public access was to say, to heck with being a perfectionist. I mean, I know people who compare themselves to, I know somebody who writes music who compares himself to Bob Dylan and Gordon Lightfoot and Joan Baez and Dolly Parton and like Tom Petty and like amazing songwriters who, and Neil Young washes away the fertile dung. Every time somebody says Neil Young or Tom Petty, I feel like Tom Petty widens my jetty, Neil Young washes away the fertile dung. So if you compare yourself to your heroes, to your songwriters or comedians like Richard Pryor and George Carlin and Steve Martin and, you know, whoever your comedians are that you admire, it's good to know who you admire and who you appreciate the quality of with music or comedy or art. But if you compare yourself, you can never be like, even Gordon Lightfoot, rest in peace, Gordon Lightfoot, great songwriter. Even Gordon Lightfoot wouldn't wake up in the morning and go, oh my God, I can't believe I'm Gordon Lightfoot, and look in the mirror and go, wow, I'm a genius, I'm Gordon Lightfoot. I mean, I imagine he didn't feel that way. I imagine that he felt like, I want to write a song. I want to write a good song. I mean, Tom Petty said that he was kind of a little bit insecure and yet confident enough to write the songs that he wrote. But because he was always a little bit insecure and always trying hard to write a good song, right? Well, I don't know if he tried hard, because he said the harder he tried to write a song, you can't really force a song when you're a songwriter. But what I mean is he had high standards. And I've listened to Tom Petty himself and musicians that worked with him talk about his high standards of every time they would record. It's true that even, okay, this is funny, Tom Petty, it took until about the third album for them to finally become actually successful musicians in terms of earning a living and getting played on the radio and touring and having lots of people show up to their shows and get a really good, strong fan base. Most people give up before that, but they went through a lot. And when you become that successful, like the song Refugee by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers is one of the most popular songs or famous songs from 1979. But imagine Tom Petty kept writing music from 1979 all the way to 2014 with Hypnotic Eye. You know, I know every single Tom Petty record. I'm a huge Tom Petty music fan. So I'm a super fan, as somebody told me, I'm a super fan. My friend Superflower, Dave Flowers, said, you're a super fan, just like he is my friend Dave Flowers is a super fan of Prince. I am a super fan of Tom Petty, meaning I know all of his music. And in fact, I know the lyrics to most of the songs, but my favorite songs are the so-called deep cuts that are not the hits. So Tom Petty could compare himself to, like, when they did Refugee and they recorded it apparently over and over and over and over, and they kept remixing it and remixing it and like 100 mixes apparently of Refugee before they finally figured out that they nailed it and it was good enough. But they kept thinking it wasn't good enough and it needed to be better. Well, Tom Petty went on to record dozens and dozens and dozens of songs after Refugee. Imagine if he had compared himself, oh, it has to be as good as Refugee, because none of his songs are the same. Like Refugee was just one song and he wrote tons of more songs. And so if you're an artist and you compare yourself to whatever your best thing is, that, you know, if the critics or the audience says, yeah, Refugee is your best song, or if even you think Refugee is your best song, you have to kind of say, okay, that's great. I'm glad I created Refugee. Now let's create another good song. So that's what Tom Petty had to do. Every time he went to the studio, he had to just try to record another good song. And actually he did it. He recorded so many good songs. So I'm just comparing that to myself. I'm saying that if you're a musician, if you're too much of a perfectionist, it can stop you from creating your work. Even if you're already successful like Tom Petty, imagine if he had gotten too self-conscious and thought he had to do songs like Refugee over and over and over. He had to just keep exploring different sounds and different textures. And there are fans who like some of his albums more than others. I tend to appreciate every single album they ever did. I think Echo and Let Me Up, I've Had Enough are two a little bit weaker in a certain commercial success level. But in terms of I love the music, I love Echo and Let Me Up, I've Had Enough. Those are both two of the strangest records they ever did. And I love them. They're different than all the other ones. Every record has its own texture and its own atmosphere. So imagine if Tom Petty had thought he had to always do like a refugee type song. It's like, that would make it not fun if he had to imitate himself in a way. So you could apply that to yourself. If you're too much of a perfectionist, then you can't really do your art. But sometimes I worry that I'm too much the opposite. I am so afraid of being a perfectionist and having that stop me that I lack patience and I rush through things. And some of my art is just slopped together. And I'm just like, look, everybody. And I've shown the audience rough drafts. And some of my public access TV show episodes were not really as amazing as others. Like I watched some of my old shows from 1996, 97, 98, 99, 2000, all the way to 2010. I've seen bits and pieces of my shows. And I had another show called Fertilizer that I did at the public access studio with my friend Tobin, with green screen and special effects and poetry. And we did more abstract, poetic performance art in the studio, because most of my show was done at home in my tiny apartment with just a black curtain behind me and one plant grow light, full spectrum light that you use in a greenhouse. So it has color correction on it. It mimics the sunlight. So I had one light shining on me, and I had my video camera and my VCR, and I would look down at myself on my TV screen, and I was directing. I did it all by myself in my apartment, and I recorded myself. And a lot of people think my show was live. I've had people ask me, was your show live? It was live, right? And I'm like, no. But when I recorded my 28-minute monologues from home and I put them on TV, on Seattle Public Access, Channel 29, SCAN, Seattle Community Access Network. They changed their name from 29 to 77. I felt like I was doing it for a live audience. Like every time I would record my show, I felt like I was doing it for a live audience. I was like, hello, everyone, this is Goddess Kring. Just like right now, I'm recording this video and I'm taping it, and then I'm going to upload it. But I feel like you're here with me right now. Hello, audience. This is Goddess Kring, Shannon Kringen, bada boo, bada bing. Catch the wind song spiral drive. And so it's kind of like my poetry is fusion drives illusion to erosion. Erosion guides fusion to explosion. These phrases pop into my head. So I didn't want to let perfectionism stop me from doing my art. You know, my mom does visual art. My dad does comedy and folk music. And both my parents, I love them very much. They're highly sensitive, highly intelligent people. And both of them have a little bit of perfectionism in them. And in my opinion, had stopped them from fully like expressing and producing as much art as they could. But that's none of my business, because it's up to my mom and dad to do whatever they want. They divorced when I was 4. They're just very different. And I have a different relationship with each of my mom and my dad. I don't have any brothers or sisters. I never had kids. So it's just me and my parents and other family members that I don't know very well. I have some uncles that I don't know very well. I have some cousins I don't know very well. All my grandparents have passed away. Forgive me to my family who I don't know very well. I haven't really stayed in touch with some of my family members. I'm sorry about that. I'm just kind of consumed and caught up in my own artwork and my own dealing with psychological challenges. And but I'm doing amazingly well. Like I look at my videos of myself in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, and I'm like, wow, I was strong, tenacious. I had audacity. I still am strong and tenacious, and I have audacity. But my personal life and my love life, I have better friends now than ever. I'm a smarter, wiser person. So being a perfectionist can get in your way. But maybe I've gone too far in the other direction, and I need to not be so hard on myself about this, but it is good to be self-aware and know that the opposite of being a perfectionist is to maybe just be like, good enough. Here's my art. Here's a rough draft. Here, everybody, it's good enough here. You know, like if you want to write a novel, but you just show people your rough draft of your novel and then you never finish it. It's like, okay, well, you got to finish your novel. If you really want to finish it, honestly, I would rather do some art and publish it that's not perfect I'd rather do a slightly crappy piece of art than not art at all. But the best thing to do is to have high standards and do your best and learn to edit. Learn to edit yourself. Somebody I know used to tell me that I should write a script for my videos, but it's just not fun for me to write a script. But I do notice when I listen back to these videos that I repeat myself over and over. I say the same thing like 3 or 4 times, and I don't realize it until later when I watch it. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm repetitive. I'm repetitive. I'm repetitive. I'm repetitive. That might be part of my autism or my chaotic brain or my ADHD. It might be part of my low self-esteem, feeling like people aren't really listening to me. I think that when I first did my TV show, I felt like I was doing it live, and I was kind of amazed that people were actually watching. Like, I knew that if I danced around with no clothing on, with body paint, and I did my poetry, that would get people's attention. But I also genuinely wanted to express that, but I can't help not admitting. I have to admit that I partly did it because I wanted to try to see if it would catch people that were channel surfing. I knew that I had to get people's attention. If they're channel surfing, why were they going to watch my show? Well, because I'm like not wearing any clothing and I'm dancing around with body paint, and I'm, a theatrical, interesting, unusual person who has improvisational monologues to share and poetry and music and moods. I was honest about my moods, positive and negative. I was sometimes very angry and very defensive. I am so glad that I've kind of moved beyond. I still have moods and I get angry and defensive. I still freak out and have anxiety, OCD, stuff like that. And yet I'm way more mature. Like I'm more resilient. I'm more quick to recover when I'm in a bad mood. I'm better at telling my family or friends, I'm sorry, I'm in a bad mood. I'm grumpy. I need to take a walk. I need to take a nap. I need to go rest. I need to just listen to Tom Petty music to calm myself down, or Tori Amos or Neil Young or Bob Dylan or Joan Baez or Jason Webley, local musician Jason Webley. He recently came up to me and said I was one of his biggest supporters, and he really appreciates it over the last 20 years. I had no idea that musician Jason Webley thought that about me, that he thought me, Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kring, is one of his bigger supporters, in terms of I put him on my show. I talked about him on I have a live journal that I still update on the internet, and I update it. So I'm thinking maybe I'll do every day a YouTube video. If I feel like it, maybe every single day I'll do at least a short video on my YouTube channel and see if I can grow my channel. I have a little bit over 1,000 subscribers. For years, I only had about 600 or 700 subscribers, and then suddenly it went up to 1,000, and now I think it's 1,000.09. I don't know. Does that mean 1,900 or does that mean 1,009? I don't even know what it means when it says 1K. 0.09. Does that mean 900 or 90? I don't know what it means. But I'm grateful. Thank you to all my YouTube subscribers. I might also put this on Facebook, so that if you're listening to me on Facebook or YouTube, thank you. This is Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kring. I'm working on a full-length documentary film about Goddess Kring, my TV show, and I'm talking about Jason Webley and local musician named Jason Webley. There's another guy named Rafe Perlman, who's a local musician who I really love the music of. I heard him at the Center for Spiritual Living, and he's got an amazing, beautiful voice, and he writes original songs. So both Jason Webley and Rafe Perlman are local musicians that I appreciate. And I use music to, when I'm sad, it cheers me up. When I'm too hyper, music calms me down. Music basically helps me. It's very therapeutic. I like to take walks in nature and be barefoot. I love to, music helps me, music and art. So I'm much better now at asking people to please forgive me in my personal life when I'm in a bad mood. And I live by myself, and that's a good thing, because I think I'm just very particular and moody, and I love my own space, and I love just doing my own thing. And then I like dating somebody, but not living with that person. Maybe someday I'll live with a man who is my boyfriend or my life partner. I don't know, but I've lived with a couple boyfriends, and it just didn't really work out too well. And I am appreciative of every single guy I've ever dated. Even the most dysfunctional relationships, I feel like I've loved many different men, and I'm happy that I've had so many boyfriends, and that I keep trying and I keep trying and I keep trying. And right now I'm dating somebody, and it's going pretty well. and it's better than anything I've ever had. And we have a lot, because it's not, some of my relationships have been based on just physical chemistry, and which is, you know, nice to have that with somebody, a romantic spark with somebody, but it hasn't worked in other ways. And so with this person, the friendship is stronger. There's the romantic spark, but there's the friendship, there's the art, the music, the laughing together, comedy, being funny, walking and talking. There's a lot of communication. And then there's another guy that I was dating off and on for many years, and now he's my good friend. And so now I have, and then I have 3 really close male friends in my life, actually, that I'm very grateful for. And one feels like my brother, and one, like, literally, because I don't have any brothers or sisters, but one of my friends feels like my brother, and I've known him since 2007. And then this other person feels, I used to date him and now we're close friends, and I really love him and he loves me, and that's really a good feeling. Um, and with him, I feel more like he's older than me, and he's kind of protective of me in a family type way that feels really comforting to me. And he's very stable and he's very different than me in some ways, though. So we kind of argue about certain topics, but overall we love each other and have a very strong friendship that's loyal. And then the person that I'm dating, we do art and music and lots of things. I just don't want to say a whole lot of personal things about the names of all these people, because I respect the privacy of the people that are in my life. But I am just so grateful and blessed to have family and friends, and to have a mother and a father that I talk to. And the poetry reading I did recently for Mark Osler, the comic book artist, Waltzing Carpet Juliet, and Mark Osler and Larry Reed from Fantagraphics bookstore in Seattle. That was a very positive event. And then the Burien Vision Gala art auction, I was in that, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful to Kelly Lyles, the art car lady who I'm friends with, who I've known for 30 years. She's painted me and drawn me for years, and now we are art car friends. And I'm blessed to be introduced to the art car community in Seattle. There's about 50 of us, I think, maybe around 30 or 40 or 50 of us that show up at the Fremont Fair, and we have our art cars and we do art car parades. And now I might go to Houston, Texas in April of 2024 for the art car parade and festival. They help us with part of our gas costs, and they help us find lodging and a place to stay in Houston with other art car and art people to help us cut down on the cost of needing a hotel. So there are less expensive ways to do your art car events. And so I'm involved in the art car community. I want to make a documentary film about Goddess Kring. I'm looking for fans of mine. If whoever's listening, if you're still listening, because I tend to ramble on pretty long. Every time I think I'm going to do a short video, I do like a 32-minute video, it seems like, but I should just do a 5-minute video, right? But I might try to do a video every single day that I feel like it on YouTube, and see if I can grow my channel. And if you want me to interview you, I'm looking for Goddess Kring fans that want to be interviewed on camera. They're willing to sign a release giving us permission to use footage of you in our movie, our Goddess Kring documentary. But I'm also thinking of doing a series on YouTube where I ask people, you can ask me questions, I'll ask you questions. We'll talk about the Goddess Kring public access phenomenon or other topics that are connected in some way. We can just talk about inspirational things. I mean, that's just a new idea that I have. I tend to get really shy around other people. It's funny, I tried to do other shows at the cable access studio and be the guest on other people's shows, and I would just get really shy. My whole body language would change and my face would change, and I would sort of clam up and just laugh and be silly. And I had a hard time really opening, like my little clamshell was just like, shut. My clamshell just went shut. So, but I'm going to try again to interact with other people on camera. If you want to have a dialogue with me on camera, maybe I can just do like a live chat on YouTube remotely, like somebody else could be somewhere else. And I don't know how to do that where you have the two screens, me and another person talking on live on camera, or record it and then upload it. So I'm interested in dialogue with people who appreciated Goddess Kring, or still appreciate me as I am still Goddess Kring. I'm still Shannon Kringen, slightly shy introvert, and Goddess Kring, like the Wizard of Oz. Like I'm sort of Willy Wonka, Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, magical human. Oh yeah, and I forgot, I was just one second, I was going to share, I think I've shared this before, but Art Identity in the Sacred is this really beautiful book that I self-published about 10 years ago that I'm revisiting. And it's got it's full color, and it's got a whole 120 or 140 pages of pictures I took of animals and self-portraits, and just there's many different chapters. And this is a self-published book I did with blurb.com. And I think I sold about 30 copies of this book. And I'm extremely grateful, because this book is expensive. It's like just my cost, it's $60 per copy for me to buy. So I bought one copy for myself for $60. That's the cost of Blurb to print this, just one copy of it. And so I sold copies, I think for $75, or I don't remember, but I made a little bit of profit on each book. I choose, the cost is $60. And so the author can choose the profit by just marking it up a little bit from that. And then I wanted to talk about, I refound this, I think this person actually ended their life, sadly. I was interviewed in Goddess Kring was interviewed in 1996 for the Glass Onion newspaper. I think this had something to do with the University of Washington. And it says on here, Shannon Kringen has a public access, a show on cable access where she talks about her personal problems, and here's why. And I was interviewed, maybe I'll read this or transcribe it. Disclosure. It was a double entendre. Shannon Kringen on public access by Caleb Shaber. And I sadly think that he committed suicide. So may he many years ago, may he rest in peace. I am very sad to know that. I think I was told this many years ago. I think he and I in this interview in 1996 even talked about mental health challenges. And if you feel self-destructive, please call the crisis line, or get somebody, call somebody, family or friends. Whenever I feel really distressed and upset, I do call the crisis line, or I call my mother or my father or my close friends that I have, and I get support. I also talk, I'm a very spiritual person, so I talk to Great Spirit, higher self, God, whatever word you want to use. I talk to my higher self. I walk in nature. When I feel really distressed, usually if I walk barefoot upon the earth and I'm in nature, it calms me down, or I listen to music, or I just dance or exercise. Even just watching videos of cats or dogs or puppies, or Mick Jagger, dancing around and watching Mick Jagger actually snaps me right out of my negativity. But maybe I'll read this article sometime, not right now, but the Glass Onion, 1996, I was interviewed. And it's interesting to look through all the old clippings of interviews that I've done. And I'm happy I laminated this many years ago, because it would have kind of disintegrated by now. It's from 1996. It would have probably fallen apart. But thank you for listening. This is Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kring. So again, it is December 14th, 2023. I'm working on learning how to video edit. Because when I did my TV show, Goddess Kring, from 1995 or 6 to 2010 or 11, that's how many years I did it, literally about 15 years every week. I just had one video camera and one VCR mostly, and one light bulb and one black curtain behind me. So it's very simple the way I did it. And the way I edited it was I hit stop, record, stop, record, stop, record. And I had one of those VCRs that would just sort of cut. Like some of them will do gray snow in between, but this one is just cut. So stop, record, and it spliced it together. So in real time, I edited it in real time live. A lot of times I would just talk for 28 minutes straight and not even need to edit anything. I would just hold up my title, Goddess Kring title And then, yeah, at the beginning and the end. And so I'm basically having to learn how to edit. I also then later on learned how to do things on the computer, but I actually am not really tech savvy with editing. So I want to learn how to edit. I now have two or three different video editing free programs that I got for free that are, what do you call it? My tech friends showed me the free video editing, open source or whatever it's called, Linux, open source type stuff. I might get a fancier video editing, but I don't think I need any fancy editing actually equipment. All I need to do is be able to do voiceovers and music, and then cut clips together and add and subtract, put new footage in with old footage. So I'm learning video editing. I am learning how to archive all of my over 700 videos. And I want to learn how to edit, keep archiving all the old material with my friend in Tacoma, and find fans that want to be interviewed on camera, or at least audio interviewed. I could just audio interview some people and have their voice. Be nice to find men and women both who are willing to talk on camera and be in our film, and sign a release saying we can have, we have permission to use the footage of them and have their name in our movie. I would love to do that. So thank you for listening. So that's just the latest on the Goddess Kring archive project, as well as the Goddess Kring documentary film. And congratulations to Fantasy Egg. It's a Mattress. That's amazing what's happening with that movie. Look that up. That's an independent Seattle film that's doing really well. And I know some of the cast and crew and have worked with them a little bit on a public service announcement at the Beacon Cinema in Seattle, and I'm happy about that. The synchronicity is amazing. If you focus on what you love, it tends to expand, and if you focus on what you don't like, that also tends to expand. So be careful what you focus on. And it's not that I don't care about all of the problems in the world, but unless I can directly help something, it's best to not focus on certain things that are, if we can't directly help. And if we feel called to help, then help. But I don't, that's just how I feel right now in the moment. So thanks for listening. Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kring signing off for today. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you for liking this video, subscribing to my channel. Feel free to spread the word that the Goddess Kring is still alive and active in her 50s. Still alive. I'm 55 and that ain't no jive. And I have Opal Moonstone, the Honda Fit art car that has rhinestones glued all over it. And I'm gluing rhinestones on my necklace. I'm gluing rhinestones on the shoes that are back there. There's some green shoes back there and some platform shoes that I glued all kinds of really beautiful rhinestones onto, some fake opals and some, multicolored gemstones that are so beautiful that are acrylic. I get like on sale, 50% off, and stuff like that. So thank you for listening. This is Shannon Kringen, Goddess Kring signing off. I'm sorry that I'm so repetitive. I'm autistic. I'm highly sensitive. Friends of mine actually think they go, you're not autistic. You're not autistic. I don't believe you're autistic. You're not autistic. Well, I was officially assessed by mainstream psychological, I don't know what you call, like I went for several weeks. My health insurance covered it, and I went for several weeks to talk to a woman for like 2 or 3 hours at a time, or wait, 2 hours, I think 2 hours or an hour and a half at a time. And she gave me all these quizzes and tests and charts, and she tried to figure out how my brain worked, and she interviewed me and asked me a lot of questions, and she assessed me for hours and hours and hours. And I showed up as having rigidity in my thinking, repetitive behaviors, rigidity in my thinking, a chaotic brain, highly sensitive to the taste, touch, smell, sensory things, sensory overload, sensitive to noise, being dyslexic in a peculiar way. Like I know left and right, north, south, east, and west, but I'm not good with I'm good with numbers, but I'm not good with chronological alphabetical things, and I forget the chronological order of things. I have my working memory. I have my short-term, I don't remember what that means, but my working memory apparently isn't very good. Like I have short-term memory problems, or like something about my brain is very chaotic and hard for me to organize. And at the same time, I can see patterns and my abstract art. So my talent if I'm autistic, if you buy into the label of that, my artistic talent is partly because I'm autistic, because I can stare at patterns in nature and draw shapes and I write poetry and I improvise. Something about the chaoticness of my brain is very fertile for creativity. Let's just say that's the upside. The downside is that I forget things, I lose things, I'm disorganized, everything is full of clutter. My apartment is cluttery, my mind is cluttery, my moods are cluttery, very stormy. And yet at the same time, I'm very creative and have a lot of fun with video, photography, painting, poetry, music, dance, theater, art modeling, acting for medical students as a patient and getting paid to be an actor. Basically, I had to act out some very intense end of life scenes of family members passing away from illness, and I cried and I pretended to be the relative of somebody passing away in a hospital bed, and it was really intense. And I did a really good job, they said, and I had to be careful though to shake off the role after that, because I was like, whoa, this is heavy and intense, and I felt tremendous grief and sadness. And I cried for real, imagining the scenario that wasn't real, but to help train the students on how to talk to family members when somebody is passing away from an illness. So that was intense. But there's just one example of something I'm good at, and yet I have a hard time with organizing other things. So, and keeping track of things. And I tend to be repetitive, like I said. Okay, thanks for listening. Bye for now. Have a good day. Bye. Let's see, how do I end the stream? Bada boo, bada bing. This is Goddess Kring. Bye bye for now.